Apple does it again with an overpriced accessory. This is the focus group.
They're all business, except when they're not. It's the Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash.
Welcome to the Focus Group. John Nash here with my good friend and co-host, Mr. Tim Bennett. FocusGroupRadio.com is the URL for our website, and you'll learn all about us there, including our Tuesday podcast, TFG Unbuttoned. It's about 20 minutes long, 3 fun stories that we curate every week. But here on the Focus Group this week, we're going to look at some stuff that caught our eye. We have a visit with our friends from Deep Discount, who are a partner of ours here on the show. And in the second half, Business Birthday, the only show in the universe, as Tim likes to say, that does the Business Birthday. And this is one of his shining moments. I don't know how he pulls these things off, but that's Business Birthday for you. And then we have some shop talks about the workplace, the mass of people that seem to be resigning and finding new jobs, and some of the most expensive and least expensive cities to set your business up. And so welcome to the week, Tim.
Thank you, Mr. Nash.
I have one for you. Okay. Last night we tuned into TCM right at 8 o'clock, and they were airing a movie that I had not seen in many, 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 many years. It's called 54 with Ryan Felipe. It was about Studio 54, and I think it's from the 90s, and it was the director's cut of this movie. So there was some footage that I had never seen before. It was followed by Boogie Nights at
I love Boogie Nights
at 9:30 or 9:45. Do you know what unites those two movies? Interestingly, would be the soundtracks.
Yeah,
I think that Boogie Nights had one of the best B-side soundtracks I've ever heard, because they weren't playing some of the hits from those periods in time, but it was the B-sides. And I got to tell you, 54, watching that movie took us right back to the 80s, the clubs, waiting outside to get in. You know the whole bit, right?
We don't get TCM down here at the Rehoboth Beach, John.
You don't get Turner Classic Movies? Fee. Are you serious?
I know. I got to get rid of that Xfinity. I got to rape you down here. There's only one service, and we pay close to $200, and you get nothing. I mean, literally nothing. And I don't get any of the premium channels. I don't get Buzzer, any of the old TV channels I like. Aggravating. And as commissioner, I get written all the time. Can we do something about cable? It's like being in Vegas. You know, if you go to Vegas or Atlantic City or any of these places, there's no TV in the rooms. They don't want you in the rooms.
No.
They want you out gambling.
They want you on the floor.
In these resort communities. They don't want you in the house. They want you out spending money. Go to Funland. Get some taffy. Get a funnel cake. Get on the rides.
And speaking of Vegas, God, we haven't been there in so long, have we? That was one of our destinations when we used to work with Las Vegas, the Convention and Visitors Bureau. Over on the Focus Group, when we were on Sirius, we went out at least once a year because we also kind of emceed or did broadcast from the Luxor pool party, Temptations. Remember Temptation Sundays? And it was always super hot because it was like July or August, right?
With Jay Dotson and James Vaughn.
I found a picture of him and us recently, and that was his Chippendales days.
Yeah.
So he was jacked up. Yeah, it wasn't
Chippendales, and then he went off to do Amazing Race, and then now he's getting married and he's in love with Jonathan Bennett. No relation to me.
Well, you wish there might have been a relation if there was some coin involved, right?
Yeah. Hey, listen, funny thing happened this weekend. So, it's Mark Pipkin's birthday. He was going to be our business birthday. So he's a good friend of ours, Mark. He works for the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, could you have done that as a business birthday? Could you have pulled that off?
I'm not sure there's not much. I'm not so sure there's much I could have said.
That's what I'm getting at.
These DC people don't tell you what they do. You find out down here, this is the one thing you don't ask down here is what people do. Because it's all, I spent the whole evening with somebody down here. And then when I left, I found out it was Tipper Gore's assistant.
Oh my God. Seriously? Tipper Gore?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she was asking me, we were just chatting. And, nobody says what they do. I work. I work in DC. That's about what they say. So anyway, so Mark and Carl came over, and then our friends Joe and Larry, little pre-birthday thing, and I thought of you because we did a wine tasting. Okay. And so I did this little special wine tasting. I did wines from $5.99 to $90. And it was a red wine thing. And we did this last year for his birthday with white wines, and everybody picked the $3.99 Tisdale Chardonnay as the best one, which was hilarious, and everybody was mortified. This year, I thought for sure everybody would pick, because red wines have a bit more personality to them, and they picked the $5.99 Beringer Cabernet. And second place was a $7.99 Dark Horse Cab. And I screamed because I spent $90 on this bottle of Camus. And nobody even picked it as even their third choice. Everybody hated it.
Yeah.
Here we go again, right? People love. I said, if you come for dinner, then I don't want to hear anybody complain when I serve a $5.99 bottle of wine.
$2 Chuck. Didn't we used to do this with Kirkland brands as well?
Yes.
Like Heaven Hill is not a Kirkland. Like you said to me once, because as winter is approaching, one of our favorite drinks is Manhattans, and you would swear by the Kirkland.
Well, there's Heaven Hill bourbon that Mary turned us on to, Mary Seaton.
Yep.
But that's gone up in price, I think, because we've drank so much. But that's gone up in price. But everybody says Maker's Mark, Maker's Mark, Maker's Mark, and Heaven Hill's about a third of the cost. And quite frankly, I think a lot smoother. And I think if you're mixing, you always say, if you're throwing 3 or 4 things in the drink,
who knows?
You might as well use rubbing alcohol.
Yeah, you and I have interviewed bartenders and mixologists, and they say the minute you put something in, it changes the content of the alcohol. So why would you go do a Grey, unless it's a martini, like a Grey Goose or a Hendrix or something like that. But one of the funniest things, I remember we went to, we got Heaven Hill once, and Bob, we had a big bottle of it, and we were running out of Maker's Mark, and he takes out the bottle and the funnel, and he starts filling the Maker's Mark bottle. And this is just before company was coming over. So we had some friends over for dinner, and hey, what do we want? We all want Manhattans. No one but noted batted an eyelash. In fact, I think it was Pat who said, he goes, this is a great Manhattan. Well, it's Heaven Hill. But we don't share that.
I learned that from my friend Jay many, many years ago in college, that she, right before a little cocktail party was going, she'd saved an old Tanqueray bottle and an old bottle of Stoli or something, and she's, pouring in the cheap stuff. I'm like, what are you doing? She goes, getting ready for the cocktail party. She had the funnels going. She was using like notebook paper to use as a funnel to pour it in.
Notebook paper. That is so Jay. Hey, are you going to see her? You're going out for a homecoming weekend. Is she going to be out there as well?
Yes, she's already flying. She's already gone out there. She's there already. She's on the board of trustees, so she's got meetings all week. But okay. I'm going out on a Thursday, which I was kind of, it's a little bit of Trump territory out there in Ohio. We're going to Marietta, which is southeastern Ohio. And I was a little bit on the fence whether I'd go or not. But it's the 150th anniversary of rowing. And as you know, I was a rower, and we were the 11th college in the country to have rowing. So they're doing a 150th anniversary, which has been canceled twice because of the event. So I'm really going for that. But otherwise, I probably would have stayed away because they're limiting attendance at things. Your nieces in college are telling you the same thing.
Been there, too. We're seeing our niece this weekend up at Skidmore. She has a soccer game. One of her parents is flying in from California, and she's having a pretty normal semester. But it's as you said. It's different, but it's better than last year. So
New York's a little more on the ball.
We'd like to think so.
Yeah.
All right. With that, what caught your eye?
What caught your eye? Here's what Tim and John found.
So I'd seen this article. It popped up on CNN, and then it hit a bunch of the fashion rags. But it said luxury brand Coach will stop destroying unwanted goods following TikTok outrage. So
TikTok outrage is enough to catch my eye. Yeah.
Do you watch the TikTok?
No, I don't even have the app. When someone sends me a link, I'll go on and see it, but I don't pay too much attention.
There's one that you would love called Morty the Misfit.
Okay.
And it's a black Chihuahua like Spike, but he's missing an eye. And he does little things around the house, and it's put to great music. Speaking of soundtracks, you'd love it.
All right. But, now you convinced me I got to pay attention to TikTok. Okay.
Just that one. There's this woman named Anna Sachs, and she had bought a bunch of items off of eBay or something, and she bought all this merchandise that was damaged from this woman in Texas called Tiffany Cherie, another TikToker. And this woman Tiffany goes dumpster diving in the back of these luxury stores at night and finds things that have been thrown away. And so at the Coach store, she found this whole cache of bags and leather goods and things that were all sliced up and cut up that were either destroyed or returned. And rather than Coach sending them back, the employees would slash them and damage them. If you're watching on our video, you'll see that there's a picture of them being held up.
And this is to avoid people from just picking them out of the trash and using them and saying, "Oh, look, I have a Coach bag," right? This is to prevent people from literally using something that's slightly damaged.
Well, see, you're smart. So yes, that's what it's for. So rather than packing up all this heavy leather goods and sending them back. And so what this Anna claims is that, they're doing this as a tax write-off. So she buys this stuff off of eBay. And then what she was going to do is send it back to Coach because they have this program called We Love, so where they will fix and repair goods. And so she was going to say that they were her items and have Coach repair them for her. And then she was going to have these items. But what ends up happening is that, we all know that Coach isn't the only brands that do this, but rather than, again, send this stuff back, they damage them and throw it away. And this is what a lot of luxury brands will do. And so she's making it sound like, though, that Coach was doing this to say that they overproduced stuff and then this was a tax write-off and they were just damaging goods, which is not the case. And Coach had said that's not the case. These are damaged goods. We didn't want them, either the stitching was wrong or something they didn't hold up, and we don't want them in circulation because it will affect the brand. So what ends up happening is she's still going full steam ahead on this. And she then finds on the Coach website that they have this big initiative about sustainability and landfills and they want to protect the environment. So Coach ends up kind of getting a double whammy. So they now have said they sent out a note saying we will no longer do this because throwing this stuff away is actually going to affect the landfill. So whereas they're not doing it to avoid taxes, but then they were counter to what their message was about the sustainability thing. And they talk about all these other brands, whether it was Kate Spade or they talk about Burberry got caught with $36 million worth of damaged goods and perfume in the dumpster.
Wow.
Last year. And, a lot of these high-end brands. Now, you and I know, and when I'd worked and you and I had done some work with LL Bean, they had, they used to tell us if you go to a tag sale and you see anything with LL Bean on it, buy it and send it to us and we'll pay you back. Yeah. Because their concern was they had a 100% return policy. It was the same sort of thing. If somebody sees something out there and they buy an LL Bean shirt or a sweater for 50 cents or $1 at a tag sale, they'll return it back to LL Bean and want $40 for it or something. So it's a similar thing. So I understand the brands are trying to protect their exclusivity and or their brands, so not to cheapen it. But so I thought it was an interesting story. But it, this person on TikTok, she had over 2.4 million views on this thing. On the Coach on the bag thing.
Yeah, when you were running through this, I immediately thought of our experience at LL Bean when the executives were like, "Hey, if you find something, send it in because this program could, because people send in stuff I want it replaced." So the caught my eye for me was also a retail. I guess it's a retail story. Apple had a big event on Monday. They unveiled MacBook Pros, some new AirPods, and a couple other things, and they announced the release date of their new operating system, Monterey. Tim and you and I are 2 or 3 systems behind. I have to talk to you later about this because when the new one comes, we're going to have to deal with issues. But I'm going to read this article verbatim. It's not that long. I couldn't stop laughing when I read it last night, and I thought this is definitely what caught my eye. Okay, so here we go. Look at this. If you see this, it's white on white. It's a little square, and the headline reads, "Apple innovators do it again with $19 polishing cloth." Okay, so it's like a white cloth, right? Like a micro.
Oh, my God.
Apple never ceases to wow. It reminded us simple folk of that fact Monday when, following its October event, the company unveiled its latest creation, a $19 Apple-branded polishing cloth, in air quotes. I mean, just look at the thing. Incredible. And don't worry, according to Apple, the polishing cloth has the specs to match its awe-inspiring look. Quote, "Made with soft, non-abrasive material, the polishing cloth cleans any Apple display, including nanotexture glass, safely and effectively," reads the accompanying marketing copy. And lest you fear that the cloth isn't suitable for your fancy new iPhone 13, Apple's here to dissuade you of that terrifying notion. According to a compatibility list, the brand new polishing cloth works on all sorts of Apple products. And then they showed a picture of the compatibility list, which I don't have because it's too big. But it's basically everything they've made since 2012 or something
So
like that.
they're selling this for $19?
Yeah, backward compatibility at its finest. The polishing cloth makes clear that when it comes to innovating new ways to get people to overpay for something, Apple is still leading the pack. Unfortunately, you'll need more than a $19 towelette to wipe away the shame of actually buying one. So there you go, Apple's $19. Isn't that insane? Like we were just talking about this. Their accessories. You could go on Amazon and buy a microfiber cloth for like a pack of 6 for like $4 or something.
That's like I got suckered into buying the Verizon, the plastic thing they put over the screen. I think they were selling for $10.
The protector.
I thought it was a necessity, but then you find out that it was another rook. But, I'll be curious to see if anybody buys these things.
Apparently, there's a 3 to 4 week waiting period for the product.
Stop.
Yeah, and it could be supply chain. It could be a bunch of things, but I just really
coming from China.
It could be. I mean, and these new MacBook Pros. They're probably assembled in China, but the new chip that Apple's using in all their products is designed by Apple, which has forced Intel to have a bit of a stock hit there. But yeah, the polishing cloth, and so you and I hit retail heaven this week with
You might not know this, but I saw a couple of headlines and I didn't get a chance to read it, but you may know as an Apple file, is that they said that the new MacBooks they brought back some old features.
Yes,
did
they
you
see
that?
Yeah.
What did they bring back? Did
they
brought
put more back,
ports on or something?
Yep, they put back the SD card reader slot. They put an HDMI slot in, and they added something that everybody begged for called MagSafe. Remember our old laptops used to have a power thing that like snapped in with a magnet, and if you hit it the wrong way, it would pop off, and they brought that back as well. And they got rid of this thing called the touch bar on top, which was a replacement for the function keys. Everybody's thrilled. All the press is like, Apple finally listened to the pros. It's bringing back all the things we like. You don't need as many dongles anymore now that they have all these ports back. So
this was based on consumer response.
You bet. And they've been slowly moving the line back to this direction for about 5 years now. And the pricing's not too bad. And also battery life is outstanding. Like I think the new MacBook Pro gets 14 hours, and the one that I was thinking that you should get to replace your aging MacBook Pro has 21 hours of battery life.
Wow.
So, yeah. All right, folks, as everybody knows, Deep Discount is a partner of ours here on the Focus Group, and we would like to invite you to check them out by going to our site, focusgroupradio.com, and clicking on the Deep Discount logo and begin your shopping experience. I like to say that the ultimate in packaged media. If you can't find it streaming, you got to go to Deep Discount and check out their selection. This week, the sale is film and TV adaptations. And I'm scrolling through a bunch here, and I had a ball with this, and I personally took Tim's advice. So when I get to be my turn, I'll tell you how I picked my thing, my pick of the week. But Tim, what was your selection this week?
Well, there were lots of great things there, and but something had caught my eye at the Deep Discount feed,
so to speak.
And I picked a Looney Tunes Pepe Le Pew collection. And that's the skunk, the French skunk.
I love him.
And I picked that because he's going away. And I was shocked that I found this because, he's been there's lots of controversy around him. He's been kicked out of the Space Jam reboot that they're doing. And they said with Looney Tunes, French skunk besieged by controversy in the wake of the New York Times columnist Charles Blow slamming the cartoon character as adding to rape culture. They've gotten rid of Pepe Le Pew. They said that Warner Brothers has passed him over in all media, and they have no current TV series featuring the skunk, and there are no plans to have him appear on any Looney Tunes compilations, anything with the Bugs Bunny Builder programs, Tiny Toons, Looniversary, or future projects. So if you want Pepe Le Pew, this is the thing to get. This is the collection. It's available at Deep Discount. It was originally released in 2011. There's 17 of what they say are a new compilation of 17 iconic shorts of the lovable French skunk, Pepe Le Pew. And strolling around Paris in the springtime, he's always looking for love. Apparently, he's inappropriate. While he's constantly seeking l'amour of his own, he's a huge turnoff to every prospective mate. And of course, so he's going to be going away.
This brings up a great thing. I need to actually look to find, and I do know they carry it, like the complete library of some of the Warner Brothers Looney Tunes, because a lot of these cartoons are just not going to be aired any longer. Like there is stuff that I have that I know they're just not going to air because of, how they were handling certain topics, and they're a product of their time. And I wish we could still keep them and talk about them because they are funny. I know they use some bad stereotypes and tropes, but there can also be educational. That's a great one, by the way. And at $8.85, it's a bargain. I went with 21 Jump Street, the reboot, starring Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum. Now, it's a funny movie. I only liked this one. There was a couple others after this, or maybe there was a 22 Jump Street, I think. I got into this movie because my sister sent me the following video clip after she saw it, but here's the audio from it, and I'll describe it in a second.
Sounds like you guys really cracked the whole case. Great job. You guys are on fire. So proud.
Like you could do any better?
We just brought down a group of wannabe thugs stripping down cars in the Garfield High Metal Shop.
Meanwhile, you two were standing around, finger popping each other's assholes.
We're not finger popping each other's assholes. What we're doing is getting shit done.
The line was finger popping each other's assholes. I don't know how Channing Tatum or Jonah Hill delivered or did that scene without cracking up. If you see it, you cannot stop laughing. There's a lot of great moments in it. But again, I chose 21 Jump Street, the reboot movie, which came out in 2012. Did you ever see it?
No, I didn't. But
it's quite funny. I think it's Dave Franco's in it. It's a good cast. And the release this week is M. Night Shyamalan's Old. This is about a family who swims into a cove. They get kind of trapped there, and one day turns into they age, and they go crazy aging over several hours. It's a horror film. I want to see it. I didn't get a chance to see it. I usually like his movies. There's usually some conceit that we fall in for, but that's the release this week is Old by M. Night Shyamalan. So there you go.
Great. So head over to focusgroupradio.com, start shopping away. As we mentioned, there's many sales going on, but right this week we've got movies based on TV shows and TV shows based on movies. I picked Pepe Le Pew, the new collection with 17 iconic shorts. John picked 21 Jump Street, and the new release this week is Old on Blu-ray. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We've got Shop Talk and Business Birthday coming up. Stay with us.
You're listening to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com. Now back to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Available pretty much everywhere.
Welcome back to the Focus Group. John Nash with Tim Bennett. FocusGroupRadio.com is all you need to know to find out more about us, including Tuesdays, TFG Unbuttoned podcast. During the break, we were kind of chuckling because, Tim, we were laughing back at our SiriusXM days about how Frank DeCaro used to kind of have fun with names. And the director of Old, the movie we profiled in the new release in the Deep Discount segment, was done by M. Night Shyamalan. And Tim used to just always say, what was your...
You can say Shyamalama Ding Dong.
So now when Bob and I see one of his movies, it could be... I forget the one where the girl, it almost looks like colonial America, and she's got to get, The Village, maybe was that it? She's got to get medicine, and then you discover that they live in a big nature preserve, cut off from the world, and William Hurt's in it. But I remember we were watching that movie one night, and Bob goes, is this Shyamalama Ding Dong's movie?
Yeah.
And I just said, you can't say that, Bob. And he's like, well, Tim does it, so
his family home's for sale outside of Philadelphia for $3 million. It's this kind of kind of modern, mid-century modern house, kind of cool, kind of funky
is it
house.
one of the counties outside of the like?
It's right outside of Philadelphia,
like
Montgomery
Chester
County.
or Montgomery. Okay, so is
Yeah,
that
so
north or just directly west of the city?
Yeah, it's
Northwest?
kind of north,
Okay.
northwest. Everything around surrounds the city. And then, did you see The Visit yet?
Yes, we know The Visit very well. That's your favorite movie by him. I'm not even going to reveal what goes on in that movie, but yeah.
Yeah, that's creepy.
That movie has, Tim turned us on to that, and that could be our favorite film by him, actually. And it is scary as all get out, because when you realize what's going on, you're like, oh my God, and I'll just leave it there.
Probably his most famous, right, is the Sixth Sense, right? That put him on the map.
I See Dead People with Bruce Willis. Good movie. I really like that one. Although you claimed, was it you or Bob who said you knew what was going on within minutes?
Yeah, I did right away. I
You
said,
did?
They're dead. Well, because everybody, everyone talked about it with the big surprise or whatever, but I don't know why. I just said, oh, the little kid. And it might be, my niece used to do that. I don't know. My niece used to, we'd be at the dinner table and she would look kind of vacant, focused on something between two people. And then she would kind of lean over and say, I don't know who's sitting between Grandma and Grandpa. Or I don't know there's nobody sitting there, sweetie. She saw somebody.
No one's sitting there, sweetie. She saw
But
somebody.
she would look and see, like she would see some. I don't know who that is, and be very focused on that. Which I think as a kid you don't know better, but that would freak me out.
You have a lot of you've had a lot of brushes with what I would call the supernatural, right? Like there was the ghost on Clymer Street.
That was scary, yeah.
And other people experienced something in that house. Tim used to have a really cute row house on Clymer Street, which is like the Italian neighborhood in Philly. I mean, you had some amazing Italian delis around you. There was one that was all white tile, and you could go and get all your prosciutto there, and it was a cool name, but it was a narrow house, and it had a very, I would say your staircase was as steep as the one up at our country house because it was older. And you said that there was something going. Some presence was there, right?
I never saw anything. Other people did. Two very good friends, my friend Dave and my friend Matt, both saw people in my bedroom, in my bed.
Yeah,
And,
see, that's weird.
I never did, but I did feel the bed move, and I did. There were nights I was afraid to go upstairs, and that's when I decided to sell the house. And it's interesting because the house, to this day, still sells every year.
Really?
Yeah. I called that one of those, I don't know, History Channel or Discovery Channel ghost hunter people. I tried to call to get them to come look. But then for my birthday, Pam and Nancy one year gave me this psychic. Well, Carol London, she was on our show.
Yeah, I loved her.
Back on OutQ. I had gone there it was a 50th birthday gift, and I'd gone there, and she immediately tuned right in on that. And because I had moved, but she was focused in on this house. And she said, where do you live? And I told her, and she said, nah, he didn't follow you. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then she gave this whole history of what supposedly happened in the house, which really kind of freaked me out even more because apparently somebody was shot in the house. And so then I go back to the old neighborhood and I asked Sonny, sitting there with a cigar, South Philly Sonny. And I said, did somebody, I don't know if he died in the house. He might have died on the street.
But he died. So there you go, right?
So, nobody ever talked about it, but, so it was creepy.
Yeah.
So
Young
kid
go.
was shot and killed in the house. Yeah.
And maybe it's, and the fact that it turns over so frequently, I don't know, there's something interesting about that.
Thumbs up.
Without further ado, Mr. Bennett, let's have a business birthday.
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
So aside from Mark Pipkin, who was supposed to get us more $2 bills.
Happy birthday,
he told
Mark.
us he designed that. All right, happy birthday, Mark, October 20th. Jonathan Ian Schwartz, born October 20th, 1965, 56 years old, an American businessman. He's currently president and CEO of CareZone. I never heard of CareZone, did you?
Is it some kind of a hospital group or medical group?
It's a medical group.
Okay.
You're so well, I guess I thought it was a car company. He's CareZone, come get all your auto parts. He's currently CEO of CareZone, a firm devoted to lowering the price of prescription drugs for those facing chronic illnesses. Before founding CareZone, he had a 15-year tenure at Sun Microsystems, where he served as CEO. And and then before it was acquired by Oracle. He was also the founder and chief executive officer of Lighthouse Design, a software company focused on the Next Step platform. And Lighthouse was acquired by Sun in '96. These software companies are a mystery to me. Probably why I have no money. Do you know if you worked for Sun Microsystems, what am I selling?
Oh, you're selling an operating system. You're selling, Sun used to be hardware and software, and then that changed, but now they're just a software. It's like IBM. So that's the same question, Tim. If you're buying something from IBM, what are you buying? You're buying services, or you're buying software services. Remember, IBM used to made the PC, but they don't make that anymore. So yeah, you're buying something from us.
But is it just like when I download software? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's like a platform. It's like Salesforce.com. It's a bunch of stuff, and it's highly specialized, and people pay for it. Yeah.
people make a lot of money in that field, and I have
sure
zero interest. I don't understand it. You do. I don't understand it. Do you? Could you work for a software company?
I could if I were marketing the stuff, but not writing it. That's for sure. You and I are not coders, so.
Well, that's for sure. We can't do the tip. So with aspiration, he wanted to be an architect.
Didn't we all? I wanted to be an architect
Well, you wanted
too.
to be an architect.
Yeah, but the math.
No money in that, John.
Oh, then the math got in the way. Math was problematic. Yeah.
He was going to go to Carnegie Mellon and started there, and then he ended up at Wesleyan University in Connecticut, of course. And he was going to drop out and then ended up getting some scholarship where he remained, and he majored in mathematics and economics. He was nearly killed in 1987 on an Amtrak train, the Colonial, which crashed in Chase, Maryland. I remember this. I was working at LTV Steel. The train crashed outside of D.C., and he said this had a profound impact on his life and really changed his view on life, meaning that, life could be over in a second. But I remember that train crash in 1987. It was a big discussion when that happened. Do you remember that?
I do remember that, yeah.
So then he went and started working at all these different, system software companies. And I'm not going to go through it because, quite frankly, it's wonky. But the one thing that I think was funny, he resigned as CEO of Sun Microsystems in 2010, and he did it with a haiku.
Well, haiku is 575. Like do you remember how that works? Yeah.
5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables.
Yeah.
So his resignation was a haiku that he sent in, and then he posted it on Twitter. And so here's the haiku: financial crisis, stalled, too many customers, CEO no more.
Financial crisis, yeah, stalled. Too many
customers. CEO no more.
575. Very good.
So if you're going to quit, that might be something to do. People remember you, do a haiku. Then he ended up starting a San Francisco-based CareZone, which launched in 2012. And it enables users to create a password-protected centralized repository or area of information related to the care of, if you have children, parents, or loved ones, where you want to have everything private, but all in one place where people could access it. And so he's really put himself wholeheartedly into this. And he's worked with a guy named Schwartz, he worked with a guy named Walter Smith, who was one of the early developers of Apple and Microsoft, one of the veterans there to develop this CareZone app. He's a outspoken evangelist for technology. And he was one of the early adopters that felt that he thought technology should be accessible and available to everybody, similar to electricity and railroads, and really pushed for the U.S. to get everybody connected, and still feels that way. And so happy birthday, Jonathan Schwartz.
Nicely done. Good business birthday. And I think that Amtrak story is intriguing. Near-death experiences, I think, would change people's perspectives on a ton of things, right? And at a certain age, it literally changed the trajectory of his life and his businesses, I guess. Amazing. Cool one. Okay, so we have a couple of shop talks for you folks. And the first one comes to us from CNN. And a lot of people have been reporting on this. Headline reads, a record number of Americans are quitting their jobs. 4.3 million to be precise in August. CNN claims it's a considerable evidence of considerable leverage that workers have in today's economy. I'm not so 100% sure about that. But they said about 2.9% of the workforce quit in August, up from 2.7 in July. And that marks the highest quit rate since the report began in late 2000. So we're like 10 and a half, 11 years in. The number of workers who quit rose by 242,000. And why is this? They're looking for higher pay, better working conditions, and more flexible arrangements. So when you read this, they talked about some of the categories that we're dealing with here, but this struck me as a statistic that really was talking about people who worked at, maybe the big box stores. Hospitality industry took a big hit, restaurants. So yeah, I can see that you might not want to go back to a job that wasn't paying you a whole lot. And one other thing they didn't report in here that Tim and I have been reading about for some time is as people get ruder, these jobs become much less desirable because you're dealing with the public, right?
Yeah, they're calling this the golden age for the American worker.
Yeah. I guess since you called that out, you have a problem with that? Because I kind of do too.
Well, they said that the bargaining power comes with a willingness to just quit your job that you don't like and then shift to something that's, more fulfilling, gives you more life purpose. And they said this usually happens, they find when they look at patterns in history that this happens after great wars or depressions. And certainly we've gone through, with the event, we've certainly gone through quite an event globally. And they said, even though it's hard to spot while you're in it, we've certainly gone through shock. And they said that, so this is one of the unexpected changes upon our population. And it's going to take us some time to sort through it. And as John mentioned, it's certainly affecting factories, trucking companies, restaurants, construction, other sorts of, I guess more manufacturing, or I want to say hard labor, but hard labor is probably the wrong word. Maybe blue collar workers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this is a sustainable model, though.
I don't either. I agree with you. Yeah.
All these, because I know down here, and I see it everywhere. There's restaurants here, for instance, that can't open up because they don't have enough people to work lunch. Or there's retail stores that have closed because they don't have staff to work past 5 o'clock. They're showing workers, and they were talking about different areas where they just don't have the staff, and you can't have a worker, you can't work 16 hours, right? So if you can't staff the stores and you can't pay overtime all the time, they're just not, it's just to me not sustainable, and prices are rising. I don't know when the bubble's going to break. I know people are blaming the current administration for a lot of this, but I don't know.
I don't care who. Yeah, I don't care
fixed.
who was going to be in the White House. The event caused global disruptions. I mean, you have to look well beyond the United States for this, and we're seeing it now with supply chain issues, shipping, trucking, the whole bit. And the thing that I wonder if you thought about this as well. Did healthcare play a role in any of the decisions to leave these jobs? Because, that's a big concern for many of us is, do I have an adequate healthcare policy, which in our country usually comes along with, a full or part-time job, right?
Yeah, or even if you do have a healthcare policy, it's not adequate, as I found out. The
yeah, it's like insurance in
get
general,
a surprise
right?
bill
Yeah.
3.5 years later. Yeah, the that could be. People had blamed that because a lot of the gig workers are people that were self-employed that never had any of the benefits of unemployment. Were able to during the event collect unemployment insurance for the first time, I think, ever. Right?
And probably the only time ever. Yeah.
And so they blame that to say, well, I can make more money by sitting home, which I think is really
But that all ended.
Yeah.
That's all over now. So, yeah, it will be interesting to see how this unwinds itself. But you're right. We have the same shortages here in New York. We have restaurants that can't open for lunch service. Maybe they only do dinner. And it's because of a shortage of trained staff and wait staff and chefs and cooks and all that stuff. So the other article we have, which kind of dovetails into this in a way, is an article about the cheapest and most expensive states for running a business. So let's say you're starting a business or you're running one. There's some cities that are, I should say states, that are the least and most expensive. I was actually surprised by the list. So Tim, why don't you let us know the 5 least expensive states for running a business?
So these are the 5 least expensive states for running a business. And how they did this, they weighed factors like average annual wage, top corporate income tax rates, and average prices for utilities like electricity and internet. They included the District of Columbia, but omitted Alaska and Hawaii due to unavailable data. It's also as we know, they're spread out from the 48, the lower 48. So in order, going from 5 to 1, first one for least expensive was Georgia, number 5. Number 4 was Nevada, which I think is one of the similar to Delaware and New Hampshire, tax free. Number 3 was Kentucky. Number 2 was Oklahoma. So far, I'm hard pressed to want to live in either of these.
Yeah.
And number 1, lo and behold, we've seen many, many, many corporations moving there. Number 1 is Texas as the least expensive state for running a business.
Texas is so interesting as a state. I think you and I read a lot about how the population. Everybody thinks it's this red state. It could be because of gerrymandering and current administration in there, but it's a very purple state because a lot of people have flocked to Austin or Houston or Dallas. And there are people from other parts of the country like the Northeast or the West, so there's a different political thing. But that's the whole thing with Texas. That's why Elon Musk moved Tesla there, right? Because of how much less money was going to cost from taxes, right?
Yeah, it says Texas tops the list thanks to its tax policies and utility costs. The state does tax businesses with annual revenues above 1.1 or 1.2 million at a rate of 0.375, but its corporate tax laws are considered to be among the friendliest to businesses in the country. And they said, as John mentioned, that's perhaps why Tesla has just announced they're going to be moving from Palo Alto to Austin. And Oracle's already moved there, Hewlett-Packard, Charles Schwab. Toyota moved their headquarters there a couple of years ago, and a number of other big companies are there as well. They do face criticism. Obviously, there's some restrictive laws there, the recent voting laws, and also the abortion issue that's been taking place, which is now going to probably end up in the Supreme Court. Do you think?
Sooner than later. Yeah, I think it's going to move faster than they had planned. But that's one of the impediments to moving to Texas for many types of businesses is some of the restrictive legislation that's there. Now, the flip side is of this least expensive states to do business, and obviously they would provide us with the most expensive states. And I was actually kind of surprised by this list. I bet you were too. So doing it in the same order that Tim did from 5 down to 1. So Iowa ranks as the 5th most expensive state to do business in. The District of Columbia, the Washington, D.C. area. 3 is Vermont. That raised my eyebrows. 2 was New Jersey, which didn't surprise me given the tax situation there. And number 1 was California. Now, California workers have the nation's 9th highest average annual salary at $47,000 a year on average. The state also easily has the country's highest electricity prices, averaging 17.7 cents per kilowatt. I would like to have seen them actually compare that to a few other things. And then when they talked about Vermont, which, as I said a moment ago, and Tim, were you surprised by Vermont?
No, the socialist state of Vermont. I mean,
nothing surprises you these days, right?
The USSR of the United States. Vermont, no billboards.
Yeah, it says Vermont is something of an outlier on this ranking. The Green Mountain State is one of the least populous, which typically correlates with lower startup costs. However, this study was done by Approve.com, and they noted that Vermont has the 2nd highest electricity costs in the country, and perhaps more notably, the 9th highest top corporate income tax rate at 8.5%. So when Tim noted earlier that if you're a company in Texas making $1.2 million in revenue, your tax rate's 0.375. We hop down to Vermont, and their highest corporate tax rate is 8.5. That's up there. I'm surprised New York was not in the top 5, but I have to look at this list to see where we were. But I know that there's a lot of incentives to get businesses here, and I don't know where PA would rank. Would you think it's an expensive state?
It depends. It's probably in the middle.
Yeah. Okay.
So Philadelphia is an outrage to do business in.
Yeah.
And Pittsburgh is probably much better. Pittsburgh's a lot friendlier. And then you got, Pennsylvania in the middle. So you don't know what you get in the crapshoot.
Yeah.
But, our friends of ours, Joe and Larry, it's funny Vermont came up. They were just there and they loved Vermont. They'd not been there, and they thought it was just heaven for them. They thought it was just beautiful, and aside how the people were great and welcoming and smart, and everybody was masked up and all this stuff. And it's funny because as small New England states, Vermont right next to New Hampshire, they said you go to New Hampshire, which is heavily Republican as a New England state, as Republican can be,
true.
and a whole different vibe in New Hampshire, and you cross the line into Vermont, and it's a whole different. It's like going from the north to the south when you go from New Hampshire into Vermont and vice versa. It's a very different vibe in Vermont. But Vermont's always been an outlier in New England, I think.
Yeah, that's true. Politically, they've always been a state that people look at with some curiosity.
I'm surprised you guys don't turn in. Did you guys ever go over there? Because you're kind of up near there, aren't you?
We used to do a ski house at the lower end of Vermont. That was a stretch. That was a 5-hour drive from the city, and Mount Snow, I think it was. I think a friend of ours cracked a rib one day, and I think I sprained an ankle. It was, it's skiing on ice, so not so entertaining, but beautiful state. I mean, when we were there, we would drive around in covered bridge territory, and fall up there is
gorgeous.
Yeah, it's amazing.
No, but from where you are in upstate, I think it's a lot closer.
Yeah, it's much closer. But from where we are, I'd rather go to like Williamstown, Western Mass. Or even in New York State, there's plenty of places to visit. One of these days, I got to get over to where the Beekman boys are at Beekman 1802, right? Sharon Springs. It's about an hour, 20 minutes from us, something like that.
I should know this. Has Vermont legalized cannabis?
Something tells me it did, but don't hold me to it. I'd have to look at the map of who has actually said yes, we'll do this.
Yeah, I would have thought so too. I'm guessing they probably have, but it's been awful quiet. But no, Vermont's one of those. They're almost a lot. They border Quebec, and it's one of our French-speaking states. So if you do go there, whereas we have a lot of states where people speak Spanish, they do speak French up in northern Vermont. And so it's an interesting place.
Yeah, on the cannabis front, we were in Great Barrington recently, and right in town on the main street, there is a dispensary that's new. It's owned by women. I think it's called Calyx. Bob and I laughed because when we were walking around downtown looking for a place to just sit and have some lunch, I think every third or fourth person had one of their little bags. So they were doing a booming business, let's say that.
Well, I would be curious when New York, if New York does one on the other side, then it'll be the dueling states. Right?
Well,
it should be soon, right? A couple months.
Yeah, a lot of New York plates go to Mass to satisfy that need. Anyhow.
Yeah. So hey, thanks for joining us today. Be sure to also catch our podcast, which is TFG Unbuttoned. You can find all our media housed at focusgroupradio.com. While you're there, also check out our sponsors and of course our friends at Deep Discount. This week they've got movies based on TV shows. I picked Looney Tunes Pepe Le Pew. John picked 21 Jump Street, and the new release this week is Old. So we hope you guys all have a great week, and be sure to be safe out there and mask up. And I'll see you all in Ohio. So everybody take care.
It's The Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.
That was a stunning focus group.